Okay, so now that we have our mullions within our frame, what we're gonna have to do now is add our infills. So the first thing I would do is go back to family types. And now I'm gonna have to copy over a lot of parameters. Um, this might take a quick second, so you can either watch me do the whole thing or kind of fast forward and then just copy what I have in here. But I'll walk you through what I'm doing first. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get the IF1 and infill ones. So these will be associated with our glass. So IF1, materials, instance. I'm going to switch this over to glass. Okay, do another one. Okay, you're going to switch these infill ones. You're going to make infill 1 infill glass A, and then you're going to make infill 2 infill glass top lights A. And I'll explain why in a little bit, but for now, just follow that. Now the order that I'm putting these in doesn't necessarily affect the frame, but to remain with our standard, it's best just to set them up how I am here. And now typically when you're making a new adaptive frame, you won't have to set all these up one at a time like I'm doing. You can pretty much reuse an old adaptive frame and just do a save as and rename it whatever the custom frame that you're making might be. Okay, so we got shadowbox 1, backpan 1, shadowbox 2, backpan 2. So we're going to switch all these, shadowbox, backpan, shadowbox, and okay, cool. So now we're going to add the rest of our dimensions that we'll need for the glass and the backpans and shadow boxes. So the first one we'll need is a infill offset. Dimensions, instance, pop that down. Then we'll need infill thickness. Okay, now we'll need all the parameters for Alan's tool to read so it can set all the bytes correctly. So all these are under new frame setup. Infill by left. Infill by right. Okay, and there we are. We're all set. So I'm going to click apply, and then okay. So now that we have all of our parameters in there, we're going to go ahead and set up this first light. So do a window select, filter, check none, adaptive points, okay. Come here, isolate element. Okay, so let's do the infill glass A. There we are. Click on that. Make this infill 1 since it's the first light. Make the glazing material IF1 since it's tied with that infill 1. And then I like to just make sure that my generic byte bottom is on the bottom. So what you do is just type in, like, let's say -6 feet or something crazy. We see that this gets offset. So that's all good. So let's go ahead and make this infill 1 byte bottom. Slide into 0, 0. Let's make sure this is the left. -2, left side, looks good. And based off of that, we can assume that the other two sides are going to be correct. But just to make sure, just to show you, we got the right. Okay, so that's infill byte right. And then we have the top right there. Infill byte 1, top. Perfect. Then infill offset, we're going to set the infill offset. Infill thickness, we'll set the infill thickness. Okay, nice. So now I'll click this guy, do a hide, and then do my top light. Drag that in. Again, go counterclockwise or clockwise from the top left corner. So 1, 2, 3, and then 6. And now the reason why we have a top lights different from that first infill glass is because we need this edge of the glass to actually come down into the bite, or into the pocket of the horizontal mullion to create that bite. Whereas the other one, since they all go inwards, we need this bottom edge to actually come down. So that was rather difficult to do all in one family. So we just have two different families. The first one being always for the first light, and then this top lights to be for all the subsequent lights above that. So I can show you right now, if we make this something positive, like 4 feet, you see it slides downwards. But if we make it something negative, like 4 feet, it's still going to just lie at that 0, 0. So that's exactly what we want. And this is exactly how you set up a 2 light and above frame. So I'm going to make that infill 2, make this IF2. I'm going to set up this generic byte bottom to be infill 2 byte bottom. The left is going to be infill byte left. The right's going to be infill byte right. The top will be infill 2 byte top. Infill offset. Infill offset. Infill thickness will be infill thickness. Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And now I'm going to set up my back pans. And you do this the same manner that you just did the glass. So you're going to put this first one in, set this to back pan 1. And then for these, you set the closure panel instead of infill bytes. So this one, right, we're at the first and we want the bottom. So closure panel 1, offset bottom. Oh, actually made a slight mistake where this is 1B, which I don't believe is correct. So let me go in here. Let me delete this out. Yeah, 1B. I'm going to search for the closure panel 1 offset bottom. Okay, there we are. Then set the back pan offset, then the back pan thickness. Perfect. Do a HH, hide that. Drag another one in. Back pan 2. So this is going to be closure panel 2 offset bottom, closure panel offset left, closure panel offset right, closure panel 2, offset top, back pan offset, and then back pan thickness. So I go in here, HH. And now going to set our shadow boxes. So make this, shadow box 1. I'm going to make this closure panel 1, offset bottom, and then closure panel 1, offset, or closure panel offset left, and then right, and then closure panel 1, offset top, and then shadow box offset and shadow box thickness. There's HH. And I'll put the shadow box 2 in here. I'm going to click on this. Shadow box 2. Closure panel 1, or closure panel 2, offset bottom. Closure panel offset left. Closure panel offset right. Closure panel 2, offset top. Shadow box offset. Then shadow box thickness. Okay. And now go bring all those back in. So you can see they're all set. Now what we have to do is just set these dimensions to what we typically have. So it's 2¼ for the offset. Infill offset is 1 inch. Infill thickness is typically 1 inch. We have 5¼ for a shadow box offset. 1/8 for the thickness. 7 3/8 for the offset. And then 1/8 for the thickness. So I can apply that. And now what you can do is you can turn these into empty. Now we just have our basic unit, which is ready to set.